Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm actually back in the studio from both Bourbon Beyond and Louder Than Life, and we have a band right now that we're going to talk about that performed at Bourbon Beyond. In fact, they're like right behind me there performing at Bourbon Beyond. You know, so let's welcome to the show Asa from Gooseberry. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And so first, right off the bat, tell me about your experience playing at Bourbon Beyond.
Yeah, I guess in one word, it was incredible. It was definitely the largest festival we've ever played. You know, we played a couple before, but the scale of Bourbon Beyond was just far beyond anything that we had done. And they still treated us like royalty. You know, like I feel like we got the same kind of treatment that, you know, Pixies or Jack White or whatever is getting, which is a testament, I think, to what Danny and his team are doing over there. But it's just really cool. I don't know. Even just like hopping in an artist transport to get from one stage to another is just like a unique thing that you don't recognize when you're just attending a festival. And I've been to many just like as a fan, like just walking around and seeing bands. Yeah, there's just so many little things about what go on at the festival that were really cool for us to get to do and get to see and get to meet people and just see a lot of amazing bands play.
Nice. And yeah, already answered one of my other questions, because I always like to ask the artists at the Wimmer festivals, how does he treat the artists? And in like 16 years of doing his festivals, I've never heard an artist say one bad thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess the only bad thing I can say about Danny is that after he was very gracious and I met him the day before on Friday, and we were lucky enough to get to hang out in his little backyard party area. He had mentioned to me that he actually has an old whiskey that he's been aging since the start of the festival. And I made him promise that he would give me some if we earned it, you know, from our performance. And then I guess Saturday was so busy, I only saw him briefly that day. So unfortunately, we had to keep on with our tour, and we left Kentucky without my getting a taste of the aged Bourbon and Beyond whiskey. So
that means
that's the one thing.
Yeah, that means you're going to have to play it again.
And that's what I was trying to tell him. I guess we'll see if that lands. You know, we're cool. Also, if he doesn't want, us to be back to back at Bourbon and Beyond, makes total sense. Louder Than Life.
There you go.
Just do that. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about bands like you and some other bands on the Bourbon and Beyond ticket is they could play either festival.
Yeah. Like the range of acts that they had at Bourbon Beyond is pretty crazy. Right. Like we were playing the same day. Obviously, Ringo's playing, but then you also have Jack White. You also have like their bluegrass bands. You have like, I know there was like pop stars. You have like, Benson, Boone at some point, and Noah Kahan. Like being able to see all these different things and have a stage that has music for anyone who's coming is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so I love that because the United States was never like that. Europe festivals were like that, and I think that's the page that Danny took out of the European festivals, like where it doesn't have to be boxed into one genre. It can be, because listen, all of us, like different kinds of music. And like,
sure,
I am a total metalhead, but I also was totally pumped to see Blues Traveler, Gooseberry, Phish, and like a whole list of artists on Bourbon and Beyond, some people think, well, he's a metalhead, he listens to that. No, we all listen to different types of music and have different vibes, man. And music is music.
Yeah, and particularly finding good music. I think like that is something that a festival like this that has such a wide range of acts, I think the element of discovery is great for people who like obviously people are coming to see Phish, to come see, Sturgill Simpson, whatever it might be.
Right.
That's the headliner. That's the point of the headliner. But having strength top down, which like I'd like to think we're adding to that, but the reality is a lot of the bands that are on our level or a little bit above our level that are playing earlier in the day, I got to catch a bunch of them and they were also incredible. So like to be able to have not just headliners that you've locked in that allow people to go, wow, that's crazy that you got, I mean, Phish playing a festival like this is insane,
Right.
But then to also have that as you move down the list is pretty cool.
Well, and the thing is that, there's so many different stages. There's so many different bands that, people can come and see who they want to see. And, it still doesn't take away from the other crowds because like your set and even sets a lot earlier than yours, like there were crowds and crowds of people.
Yeah. I was not convinced anybody would show up for us to play. I kind of think that pretty much anytime we walk on stage, anytime that somebody is there, I'm kind of just grateful that somebody decided to show up. But, we were playing at 2 p.m. on a Saturday and it was the hottest day of the festival. It was like 88, almost 90 degrees. Yeah. And we were playing at the Revival stage, which is one of the main stages. I mean, it's a big stage, but it's the stage where it's just concrete. Like there wasn't the turf or grass or whatever they have in some of the other ones, which can at least like, take in the heat and spread it out. This was like concrete. So not only is there no shade, the sun's beating down on you. It's like the hottest time of the day and there's nowhere for it to go. So I was like, no one's coming in this. Like they're going to just go somewhere else. But, when we started, there were probably like a couple hundred people. By the time we ended, there were probably close to 1,000. Like that was awesome. Did not expect that. And I think people enjoyed it. And so we certainly enjoyed it.
I think that's a testament to your talent because like if you start at 200 and end up at 1,000, that means you drew people over at that point.
I'd like to hope so. Or, maybe they thought they were walking towards like Third Eye Blind and then went, okay, well, we're here. We might as well stick around for a little bit and see what this is all about.
Well, see, what I love about festivals is that's where I find all the new music. Okay. Yeah. So like I'll be walking through a festival if I'm not working, which is kind of hard to do, but I'll be walking through and I'll hear something I'm like, oh, let me check that out. And there were so many bands that I caught parts of, because I was working in the media tent, but I caught parts of that I never even knew the bands existed. Because I'm so involved in the other Wimmer festivals and other festivals around the world that like, this is something like, what was it that I went to that was pretty good? It was something salmon, leftover salmon.
Oh, leftover salmon. Yeah. I mean,
so I've never listened to them and I went over and I'm like, oh man, they're pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, leftover salmon's been around for a minute. They I've known them for a while, just like because I have an extensive knowledge of jam bands that I guess pertain to food and or animals, and we have to constantly explain to people that. And we were talking with Peter Shapiro, and obviously Peter Shapiro does all of these jam bands and is great at it. And his big one right now is Goose, and so having to just make sure Gooseberry, but not jam. We can jam. It would not jam band, just having the dichotomy there, we have to start saying like there's Goose, the jam band, there's Geese, an alternative rock band that we know from New York City. And then there's Gooseberry. And it's like, that's the spectrum.
There's one more that played at Louder Than Life though.
Oh yeah.
Silly Goose.
Oh, now it's a quadrant at this point. We have to figure out where we fall on it. Yeah.
And you'll love the story of them because, so they're basically like a punk band and they crashed one of the Wimmer festivals. It was Incarceration, the one at Shawshank Prison.
Okay.
And they were playing like the old school thing that you did. They were playing out in the parking field. Sure. They pulled up their trailer. That's cool. Wimmer was out there watching them.
Wow.
And they didn't know.
Badass.
They didn't know he was there. And he just watched them. Next day they played on a real stage. And
That's awesome.
they've been playing a bunch of winter festivals ever since. So yeah, you might get a lot of times bands like you'll play one and you'll play a bunch of them, especially since you can go on both sides of the fence of the different festivals.
Look, anytime he wants us back, as far as I'm concerned, we will be there. So if you got a word in with the boss man, we're definitely down. But I mean, I'll also say I saw Danny a couple of times in his backyard area, but more times I saw him, we're just walking around the festival, which I think is so cool that he seemingly is just constantly on the move, checking out the
he just wants to make he just wants to make sure everything's running smoothly, everything's good for everybody. Just like you said earlier, it doesn't matter which band you are, you're getting treated like you're the headliner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, maybe it shouldn't be the case, but it really was such a revelation. And maybe it's because that kind of respect for all people is rarer than maybe it should be. Yeah. But totally. He had it in spades, and it made us feel comfortable, frankly, playing this gigantic festival where I certainly was kind of just, jittery and, freaking out, as I am pretty much all the time anyway. As
anyone would be. I'm glad you bring that up, because it doesn't matter who you are. It's like, I say, I'm also a speaker, but I'm on the radio, and, you get nervous every time until the mic turns on. And then you go into this zone once the mic turns on.
It's so much easier once you're doing it. Right. The anticipation and the build up right beforehand for this festival, because everything is so neatly taken care of for us, it was a little bit less. It was more kind of just all right, how do I make sure I'm amped up and ready to go for a 2 p.m. set kind of thing? But for a show that we're playing out on tour, there's so much logistical stuff that has to happen between coordination of us and our team, our manager, agent, et cetera. Then with the venue, then with the opening bands, and making sure we have merch set up, making sure we have, photography set up, all of these different pieces that kind of fall on us to make sure are happening smoothly, instead of just show up, get all your stuff situated. They had stagehands to help us move everything. Sound is great. That there's going to be a crowd. All of that is just kind of taken care of for you, and you just show up and you can go, I might as well just play.
Right. I say it all the time too. It's stressful being an artist when all those things go wrong. So it's kind of cool when you go to a festival like a winter festival and basically you have no stress, and that makes it a lot less nerve-wracking. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything was so meticulously detailed too. I mean, they had sunscreen in the bathrooms.
Nice. That's a crazy flex, in my opinion, to just have that ready for people. So it's amazing the small things you take away. We ran into a lot of cool artists. We got to hang out with My Morning Jacket. But the thing that I have repeatedly told people about this festival is that they had sunscreen in the bathroom. And I don't know what that says about me or about the festival, but
I think it says you're a true artist, and I'll tell you why. One of my best friends was one of the founding members and lead guitarist of Anthrax. And he always tells me when they were touring really big, he's like, man, I went with interviews, he'd say, I wish instead of them asking me how we got our band name, if they ask us what kind of skin conditioner we use on tour, that's what he said.
That's awesome.
That goes hand in hand with what you're saying with the sunscreen.
That's incredible. Maybe Anthrax and Gooseberry can do just a full hour on our skincare routines.
Right.
I'd be happy to. We've been trying to get La Roche-Posay to sponsor us for years. So maybe this is what it takes, to get there. But
there you go.
Yeah, that was a key detail for me. And
right.
Yeah. And for all of us.
And that's why when you said that, that's exactly where my head went to, was that really conversation, because who thinks of musicians as giving a shit about any skin products or sunscreen? But but you're humans, so of course humans. You do.
Well, okay. So here, not to break out the pitch deck, but what I tried to explain to some of these sunscreen companies was that not only are we humans, but who else aside from say cross-country truck drivers. Who is spending as much time in a car with windows that are open-faced where sun is beating down on you? We play plenty of shows at like festivals or outside events or breweries or whatever it might be. Sun everywhere, right? You're just getting beaten down on, and you're doing that for hours. Like, we are a primary demographic that's being underserved and underutilized by these companies.
I agree. Like, especially like a place like Bourbon Beyond, that sun was like, that was brutal. I live in Florida, and I think that sun was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we played a show at the end of June in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont. It was a beautiful day, but we played outside, like a scenic little backdrop, and the sun was just the whole time. We split it up into 2 sets, and halfway point, I just had to run back to the truck, just park all the way around, and like get some more to reapply. This is a core issue. Of course, everyone wants to talk about how musicians don't get paid as much as they used to, or streaming and AI is ruining a lot of it for us. But our platform will be first and foremost sunscreen for musicians. I think that's number one. Then the AI streaming stuff.
So it's funny, like in the beginning of this season, back in May, I was doing another Winter Festival, Sonic Temple. And, I live in Florida. I'm a surfer.
Yeah.
I'm going to Ohio. I don't need sunscreen. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah.
I never get burnt in Florida. And I got burnt at Sonic Temple. Because that sun is just beating down on you. You don't even know it's beating down on you because, if you're playing or whatever, anything you're doing, it's like you're so immersed in that. It's not like you're laying in the sun and you're like, oh, maybe I ought to get out of the sun. You don't even realize them until it's too late.
Yeah, but, worst case, if you do get too badly burnt, you could always cool off with some Skyline chili.
There you go.
Yeah, Ohio's fun though. We love going to Ohio. We were in Cleveland recently on this tour, and it's always a good time. Nice.
Yeah, it shocked me. Like, I don't get burnt in Florida, but I got burnt in Ohio in May. So yes,
that's how it goes sometimes.
That sun is strong there too. So yes, you musicians, wherever you play in the world, you need sunscreen.
Yes. This is the PSA. I hope everybody heeds our caution.
There it is. And every festival promoter could learn a thing or two from Danny Wimmer for providing that sunscreen.
Absolutely. I agree.
So what else you got going on for the rest of the year, maybe the beginning of 2026 that you want to let the listeners know about?
Yeah, we are, as I guess we record this, we are about to play our last show of this year. We're playing in Austin, Texas. And then from there, we go into the recording studio. So the rest of this year and probably early next year, we're probably going to take a bit of a break from shows and just focus on working on the new record, where we've been working on a lot of these songs on the road. And we've been touring pretty extensively since April of this year and playing, over 50 plus 60 some odd shows, and been able to work on a lot of like the new material through that, test some stuff out, see what works, see what doesn't. And we've probably got like 10 to 15 songs or something like that we're going to now put through the ringer in the studio. And if all goes well and we don't hate everything that we've done and each other, hopefully come April of next year or so, we might have a first single to release. Nice. And the idea would be get back out on the road. We're hoping to get out to the West Coast. This tour, we went out to Colorado. That was kind of the farthest west we've been as a band. We're hoping to do, the West Coast tour from sort of like Seattle, Portland on down through California, and also hopefully into Mexico, because I know we got a lot of folks throughout Mexico that dig our music. So yeah, I guess new record and more extensive touring to some new places. I think those are the goals for next year. And of course, to play as many Danny Wimmer Presents festivals.
There you go. Got to throw that in for sure.
Yeah, just making sure he knows,
Right? And I love that you said you're stop doing shows and do music, because yes, what you said after that, it's like artists nowadays, they have to rush like an album while they're on the road. And I think there's something to be said of like stopping your shows, chilling out and just being in creative mode, because I think all the
Yeah.
other noise can inflict that creative mode.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one piece of it. I think also I would argue, fortunate and particular. I think others might say stupid, in that the way that the model has changed for putting out music, it encourages artists to have something new as frequently as possible.
Yeah.
So I think that if we were strictly playing the algorithmic game, it would actually be more we would never play a show again effectively, and you would just come up with music and release it every other month or every other week even, because it's a law of large numbers game. It's just like, how much can you put out there and how much can you direct traffic to that, and that'll feed itself.
Yeah.
And if that were the end goal for us, I don't know, maybe that's what we would do. And I don't begrudge anybody for doing that, but the reality is we have the great luxury of being what I would refer to as a live band first. So the desire to go out and play in front of people and to feel confident that is better than record, or maybe not even necessarily better, but just it's a separate entity that people want to experience, and it gives us something that's life affirming.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to do that. But then we also have no interest in just like cutting a single to throw out a single to just have something and feed that.
Right.
Which again, I've had so many discussions with people in this industry, whether they are on the business side or other artists, and everybody has a different opinion on it, and that's fine. The position that we have taken is we're very deliberate about the art that we create. And even if it takes a little bit more time, I have no intention of rushing out a single or an EP for the sole sake of having something out there. So our last record, our debut album, came out last September. And if, hopefully everything goes well, this new record, which will be another full-length record, will probably come out September of 2026. So there's 2 years between that where we're not actively releasing music. And that's something that I've accepted, and I've gotten the guys to see that, and our team and everybody's, at least in Team Gooseberry, is behind that. But it's very different than the way that the model works now, which I think is really interesting. And again, I don't blame anybody who is playing the game how it's effectively been made to be played at this point. It's just, for whatever reason, I don't work that way. So I can't write in that way. We can't put stuff together in that way that meets the quality that we expect it to. And for the other part of it is just like a hearkening of nostalgia. Like all the bands I loved growing up, they were putting out a record maybe once every couple of years, but it was a big event, when they're putting out a new record, like, oh, I need to my week is gone. I'm going to get this record. I'm going to sit down and pour through this, listen to this. I want to read through the, lyric leaflet. I want to understand what the situations were that led to some of this stuff. That is how I want us to create. And I know that the guys feel this way too. Like that's how we want to create the things that we create. And we want our fans to feel like they know that's what they're getting from us, that much effort and precision is going into it at the expense of there's just not going to be as much of it. Right.
Well, you know what? I'm 100,000,000% in agreement with you, because I think kids today are missing out on a big part of music, because like you were saying, I would go buy an album and I'd put the headphones on and I'd study every part of that album while I'm listening to the album over and over and over again. I wouldn't skip a track. You would put it on and play the whole thing. Imagine if Pink Floyd put out one song at a time. Like,
you just got one song from Dark Star every month, and you just had to then eventually piece it together. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I think also, yes, there's two sides to it. There's benefit to a band because you're in everybody's face all the time, but I think the disadvantage is too, when you're only putting out like a single, I don't think the people remember who the band even is.
Well, that's a huge issue with today's environment, right? Is that because of the way the algorithmically generated model works, it is not incentivizing you going deep into one catalog. It is incentivizing you having a base level or surface level understanding of many different things.
Right.
And I think I can talk about this stuff for days, but like there are so many good pieces from journalists on how we have lost critical culture, and we have lost the idea of people being very well versed in a particular area, specialists as opposed to generalists. And the fact that everyone has become a generalist, sure, there are advantages to it where music discovery is better now than it ever was. But at the same time, we have lost the kind of like fervor that certain people had. You know, you'd walk into an old record store or something like that, and somebody would just be like, that was the rock guy, or that was the hip hop guy, or that was, you know, like that. And that kind of specialized knowledge for, oh, I want a really good recommendation that feels catered from a human to a human, because they have put in that mileage. And it's not just, oh, well, this genre sounds like this genre, and this band sounds like, it's more like, well, look, there's this emotional element that I connected from this 1992 release. And, you know, this 2010 band is actually heavily influenced by that. But the way that they approach it is reference this, like there are these connections that an expert in a field can make that a machine, I guess at this point, maybe at some point we'll be able to make, but it's not going to feel the same way as getting it from the person.
It's a great conversation. It's a great connector. You feel like you're part of the music instead of just listening to the music.
Yeah, there's a community element that gets developed that you lose when you are listening in isolation.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So tell everybody how they reach out to you guys on socials, on the web, get all your tour dates, check out your music, buy your merch, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we are at Gooseberry Band, pretty much all the places. You know, I usually tell people though that if I had to choose where you'd find us, you would come to our website, which is gooseberryband.com. From there, you can find all the things that I just mentioned, but it's a little bit more curated. We got stuff like our set list archive. There's, you know, tabs for people who want to learn how to play the songs. And then we have a newsletter called the Gooseberry Gazette on Substack that if you really want to hear me ramble about useless stuff like this, that is the place to do it.
I love it. And see, you are a jam band because you have set list archive.
Okay, Pearl Jam does too, though. Okay, so, you know, it's not just jam bands, but there is a lot of that ethos. I grew up I still love a lot of those jam bands. I don't listen to it as much as maybe I once did, but like, you know, bands like Phish and Dave Matthews Band, Grateful Dead, like they were very formative for me in the same way that bands like Soundgarden and Nirvana were. So,
well, yeah. And again, going back to the beginning, like we have different vibes, different musics. I used to go to a Slayer show on a Friday night and a Dead show on a Saturday.
That's awesome. I love that. The duality of man, right there.
I know, right? You know, some people may want to call that bipolar, but I like the duality better.
Hey, certainly interesting is what it is.
Well, you guys rock. You killed it at Bourbon and Beyond, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of you at the Danny Wimmer festivals. Hint, hint.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the Adventures Pipeman.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.